the...
Automobile accident. Okay, so my grandfather was killed outright. His heart was crushed with the steering wheel. It was a tractor-trailer truck took us off the road. And
what do you mean took you? Did he?
well, the
come into
driver,
intersections?
the driver was dozing at the wheel, and his partner was waking up, and he grabbed it, and there was a car passing us, and he saw that car passing us, and it would have been right in his lane. And I guess it scared him, and he pulled over thinking he was in the wrong lane. And this is what I heard now. I was only 4,
Right.
so these are the stories I heard.
Did you ever go to Pittsburgh down Route 14?
Yeah, we drove through it all the time when we went to Ambridge to visit my parents.
You go right through Unity. It was Unity.
That's where it was, Unity, Ohio.
And they can show you the building that the truck ran into after it ran into them and moved that house off its foundation.
Yeah, it's a 6-room home, and it moved the complete home off its foundation and the cablet in the basement after it took our car off.
But it was an old 2-lane highway. I mean, it wasn't like a turnpike accident or anything like that. It was just, 2 lanes of traffic, and
Now that was
wiped them right out.
so dramatic, obviously, at the time that your folks never did drive after that.
Right, they both
And it's
dropped
really
their
'cause of that
driver's licenses.
And it's because of that accident.
Right.
Just didn't want any part
They
of
just never wanted to drive again. But at any rate, they took us to Salem, Ohio, to the hospital there, and called in specialists, and they saved my mother's knee. My mother's knee was completely crushed, and they saved her knee, and she was able to walk, and they saved my arm, and I did not have it, amputated. And then my head was all crushed open in the back. I have a crescent scar that goes all around the back of my head, and my mother's eye was laid open here, and glass went through the eyelid and just missed blinding her. So
Jeez, I
it
had
was
no
a
idea.
pretty bad accident. So
Do you remember? You're only 4, but do you remember anything?
I
about that?
remember little bits and pieces. One of the things that's funny is I remember the nurse bringing in, to this day I hate mint, and I think the reason is because she would bring in these pretty sherbet dishes, and my mother and I would always think it was lime ice cream, and it would always turn out to be mint ice cream. And I think that's probably why I always say I hate mint, because we loved lime. And it was always very disappointing. So.
Now, you went a few years with a cast, and you had all kinds of things. Didn't it take a long time for you to rehabilitate the arm?
I think probably my mother used to talk about me going to school, like they held me back a part of the time. But in today's times, I would have started school probably around the same time as then. I graduated when I was 18, which would have been a year later than most kids did. But I think my birthday may have held me back that long in today's times, too. But at any rate, she said I couldn't walk good. And somehow, from the scar on the head and the problems, it caused you to have some problem with your legs, almost like a little paralysis type thing. And I would drag I think it was the left leg I would drag.
So when did that correct itself?
And evidently between 1st and 2nd grade or so, because I don't ever remember having any problems from the time I started growing up.
Was there anything on your end that was on those lines?
No, we didn't have anything like that. The only thing I can think of is we never had any grandparents. We were raised without grandparents. My dad's mother and his dad had died when he was just a boy, so he never really knew his dad that much. And his mother was around when I was born. I remember we used to refer to her as Big Mama Condon. I've always had not an obsession, but I thought of a thing that fat people just seem to bug me. And I don't know what, except I remember her saying that if we didn't behave as little children, that she'd sit on us and we'd be a greasy spot. She threatened us, and now whether or not that actually influenced my opinion to this day,
didn't like fat people.
is that it's very difficult for me to get warmed up to a fat person, and it might be psychological like that. But I say if you got a grandchild is something you better be thinking about. Be thinking about what you tell them, because those things might register. But that was the only thing. I was just so little, and I didn't really know what it was to have a grandparent. We had none, and you know, and you see what it is to have grandparents for children, and it's, you know, with our children, it was very important because it meant a lot.
Yeah, they loved it to go to his home or my home.
And and Duane and I, you know, moving from Pennsylvania and moving from Charleston and here coming to Cleveland and living, we didn't have any parents here, and that means a lot too. You don't have that layer of psychological support and all that backup thing. So you trade things. You trade your independence, really. You do it yourself, you know. Nobody, you end up saying, well, whatever we got or whatever we did it ourselves. So you have accomplishment in that, but at the same time, there's that closeness and that warmth and that care and the love to be in there, your family you can have, that we missed. And you probably missed that too, Pammy. You know,
yeah. I don't remember my grandparents either, so I understand.
Yeah.
What was your grandfather's name?
On which side?
We got to cover them both, I suppose.
Well, Pop was, and Dad was Vernon Whittier, and I don't know what his dad's name was. Do you?
No.
What did he do? Do you know?
He was a drummer at the Citadel. He was in the military, and seated at the Military College of South Carolina, and they used to have military people attached there. He came out of the military and retired, and then he worked at the Citadel as a drummer. The Citadel boys wore uniforms, and they had to make formations and all, and they'd have a drum roll beat or thing, you know, and as long as that drum was playing, you had that much time to get there. And this is what my dad used to tell us, that they liked his father because if he liked you, he would give it an extra roll or something to make sure that you got in line, I think. But that's all I knew about my grandfather on his side. And on my mother's side, I knew nothing about it. He was I think a streetcar conductor, except that he drank, and he was from what I understand, he was a very bad husband and father, because when he drunk, he got mean, and he supposedly fought with my mother's mother and that kind of thing. But I didn't know that. I never knew my mom's mom got killed in a train wreck.
Yeah.
Remember that? Remember reading the article, and after she died,
Your mom's mom was what was her name?
Louise?
No, Mom's name was Louise.
Oh, your mother's name.
I don't remember, Jerry.
Your dad's mom?
I don't remember.
Well, but if he never met him, so.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I mean, I'd had to be thinking about that.
I know.
I'm not much into that kind of stuff. And
no, I know.
Brother Louis is, and we got all that in the books and stuff like that. But I don't have that in my memory. I don't know them. I don't remember.
Duane, on your side, your grandfather's name?
Grandfather?
That would be, my mother's father was named John. Now, that would have been my real grandfather, and he was murdered when my mother was just a baby, so we never knew much about him. His name was Condion, John Condion. And then her mother's name, I think, was Sarah Rebecca. And then, see, it would have been Nicely, because that was the step-grandfather. Now, she waited until all her children were grown up and married. My mother was the only child still at home when she remarried. And my mother went and lived with her married sister when my grandmother remarried. So I think she lived at home a little while with my grandmother and grandfather, you know, after that, but she had been living with a married sister before my grandmother remarried.
What was the story with this murder? I think I heard quite a bit.
He was somebody. He had gone down to get his paycheck, and coming home, somebody had evidently murdered him. They took his watch, and he had a diamond ring and a diamond stick pin, and they took his money and his wallet and his ring and stick pin and gold watch and the whole bit. So, and the streetcar conductor that knew my grandfather found him. He saw him sitting on these stairs, like they had stairs. They lived, where they lived in Pennsylvania, was like hilly and all, and they had stairs that went up. And this streetcar conductor was coming past, and he saw my grandfather laying on these stairs, and he thought he had fallen or got hurt or something happened, and here when he got off, that's when he found out he had been murdered. I think he was stabbed. Somehow I remember my mother, you know, talking about through the years and saying that he had been stabbed.
And Granny was a baby and the other kids were grown up?
Evidently they were all young at the time, because I can remember my mother saying when my grandmother might have remarried before they were all grown up and married, although I think Aunt Kitten and them were already married, because my mother said Aunt Kitten used to always say that they should not call him Dad. My mother would call him Dad because she had been little. When the dad died, she was a baby, so she didn't remember her real father. And see, the other children did. They were older. And so my mother started calling Grandpap nicely Dad. And my Aunt Kitten said, you shouldn't call him Dad because he's not our dad. You know, she said, we had a father and he got killed. So that's as much as I remember. Now, I remember a little bit about Grandpap nicely. I just remember he was a big man. He was very tall, and sort of not fat, but husky, and very kind. I liked him. I can remember as a little child really liking him. So,
going back up to the time when you two were married, after a year of knowing each other, we started to get into what happened from that point on as the couple now. Where did you move to after Ambridge? What was your next job?
Well, I was disenchanted with the job in Ambridge because it wasn't going anywhere, I thought, and I got a job in Charlotte, North Carolina with Southern Engineering Company in Charlotte, North Carolina. They hired me as an engineer. Where's my job in Ambridge? They hired me right out of college, and out of 100 people they hired that summer, probably about 20 of them went on to do engineering, and the rest became structural steel draftsmen. And there's a big difference there, but what you're going to do the rest of your life. And so being still single and able to think about this and say, you got to do something about this, we began to look, and one guy got a job down in Charlotte, and then they were looking for some more people, so I got a job in Charlotte at Southern Engineering, and that was like in April, I think.
You were closer to home too, so it was probably nicer.
Well, not necessarily because of that, because Charlotte was still like 200 miles from Charleston, and that didn't mean anything. And I left home, and I was taking this new career on, but had potential for the future, and so I moved to Charlotte.
So you were not married at that time when you moved?
No, and we were not even engaged. I think that's when Duane and I got engaged. I used to know that date in April when we got the ring. I've forgotten it now.
May 23rd. Oh, I don't know about April.
That day in April was May 23rd.
We got engaged May 23rd.
In August, all right, that's the day
How did you get engaged? There's always a story that goes along with every couple.
Oh, I'm not sure you want to hear that.
It was after a fight.
We talked about
You two fighting?
No, we fought after we went up to get engaged, to get my ring. Right?
Shall we tell them that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell them.
It's
funny.
Of course, now back in those days, you see, we didn't even have automobiles. We took the bus, and she and I were the only ones who knew this. And we were going to Pittsburgh.
We didn't even tell my mother because
we were going
she knew
to
he was leaving.
Pittsburgh to buy a diamond ring. This one here before it got reset, and we were going to buy the diamond ring, and we were on the bus going to Pittsburgh, and I had all the money I had in the world, which wasn't that much, but I had that in my wallet to buy the ring with. And we got off the bus in Pittsburgh and went to Gimbel's probably.
No,
Kaufman's?
Kaufman's we bought our ring.
Department stores with the Gimbel's and Kaufman's and so forth, the equivalent of Higbee's and Halley's and May Company in Cleveland, And so anyways, we said, let's go look at the rings or something. And you said, no, I've decided I want to do such and such. And I said, what? And she said, I've decided I don't want a ring. I don't want to get married. And
Did I say that?
or something like that. Those were the words and those were the impression I had.
No wonder he got mad. I didn't remember.
And she said, I'll see you later. I'll meet you here at some time or something. And I was in a blue funk.
So wait a minute, you guys decided
and then
to get
you said,
engaged? You
Yeah.
guys decided to get engaged.
And we went
You
up to
agreed.
get the ring.
And so you weren't technically engaged yet until you went to get the ring, and then at that point you would be
I
engaged.
changed my mind.
And while you were looking for the ring, you changed your mind. You saw somebody else walk by, or
No, not really. I think I chickened out. I never really was going to get married. But and I
wanted a
met
free
him,
dinner.
and then I changed my mind. At any rate, and so, well, we almost broke up several times, so this is merely
Well,
one of
let
many.
me pick it up there.
Yeah, so tell him what you said to me then.
I don't
Do
know
I
what-
want to go with you to pick out a set of golf clubs?
Well,
If I didn't want
I
to
had
get
this
married, he'd
I had
buy
this
a
money
set
in
of
my
golf clubs
pocket.
with the money.
and she
I
was
said, no,
acting
never
like,
mind, I'm going to go shopping.
I'm not doing any favors, you know. I mean, I decided I don't want to do that, and I was so mad. I decided to go buy a set of golf clubs,
And
I
he did.
bought them. And I
you still have those golf clubs today?
No, he's been through two sets since then.
I got rid of most of them, but that was my first set of golf clubs. Paid cash, didn't shop, didn't get any discounts. As a matter of fact, I didn't bring them home on the bus. They were delivering them, and I didn't even know what I had bought until they came to my house.
How much do they cost?
There was
He was
like
probably really upset.
$300 or so.
Now, let me
whatever.
tell you the funniest thing, Jared. When we left home, like my home, my mother said something, and I said, oh, Bob and I are going shopping in Pittsburgh today. We didn't want to tell her we weren't getting engaged until we got engaged, because she knew he was taking this job in Charlotte, North Carolina.
So you were afraid that would upset her because you would leave her?
We knew it would upset her. So we were going to kind of work it in
yeah.
easy. So we said to her that we were going shopping. So this is fine. We had a cup of coffee with her and sat around and everything. And then we left to catch the bus. And so the next thing you know, it's like 3 hours later, and I come into the house, whoom, and close the door, see, and straight into my room. And my mother comes in and she says, boy, are you home already? I go, yeah. She says, where's Bobby? And I said, she says, I thought you were going out tonight. She says, where's Bobby? I said, we're going out tonight. So he stopped off at his apartment to change clothes. And about 20 minutes later, when the next bus got in, there was a knock on the door. My mother goes to the door, and she says, oh, Bobby, I thought you were going home to change clothes.
So you,
And he
you
goes,
went back to...
I changed my mind. My other suit was in the cleaner. So he was pretty sharp and smart, and he didn't give it away. So I decided I'd marry him
So
after
wait a minute,
all.
you guys decided...
So we went up the next week and picked a ring.
With no money.
Then he had to
Just
wire
credit.
home to his mother
Why the change of
to
heart?
cash in his war bonds so we could get my ring. Right?
Why the change
You
of
did.
heart? I mean, you were only talking a matter of a few hours before you came back to your place in Ambridge, right? And
I was always like that,
and you
Jared.
were
Easy
still
come,
saving-
easy go.
Okay.
She just changed her mind, that's all. And when I came, and I was really in a blue funk.
She's probably only 19.
No, I was
25, she's
20. I was
21.
old enough to know better.
She was 21.
I was 21.
Really?
She was
Yeah, when I
21. I
got
was
married.
25.
Your mother didn't want to get married.
Yeah. Well, she decided on the
I was
bus.
a confirmed bachelorette.
She decided on the bus that she didn't want to get married, but she didn't tell me she didn't want to get married. She just said, "No, I got something I want to look at. I got something I want to do." And then she didn't show. And then she didn't show where she was supposed to show. And I bought this set of golf clubs, and then and she didn't show. I knew she had
I got
gone.
mad.
And I didn't understand it. I went there and we fought like crazy. And then she said, "Well, okay, maybe okay. Then we'll go back next week and get the ring." I said, "We can't. I don't have any money. I got golf clubs." And so
Did you buy anything? Do you remember buying anything?
No, I was mad, and I just wanted to get away from him and go home.
You actually went home by yourself.
Yep.
You didn't come back together.
no,
Nope.
that should have been a warning right then, right, Debbie?
Yeah.
That should have told us something.
Let me just change
Any
that
rate,
for
and
one
then
Here we
that
are,
was
still here.
39 years ago.
second.
It may take